All right, I was asked to make a day in my life as an NP, and to be honest, I've been hesitant to make this video, really scared to make this video because I don't know how to make this video and make it interesting enough because I can't really film in the hospital. So I thought I would try to do it like the best that I can and kind of give you like tips along the way, because my routine for going to work has definitely changed, especially as I have kind of grown as a nurse practitioner. And the reason why is because at first I was part-time, working only 2 days a week, which I don't recommend as a new grad. And then when I felt more comfortable, I asked to go per diem, and now I'm per diem. Before, in the beginning, I used to look up all my patients the night before, because I'm only there once a week, and this is part of the reason why I don't suggest as a new grad becoming a nurse practitioner and being per diem. But now that I'm more comfortable, we've hired so many nurse practitioners in my job lately. So before, I used to kind of look at the list the night before and pick my patients, kind of get to know them. That way when I get to work, I can kind of not feel like I'm in a rush. And I have a lot of meetings throughout the day, especially depending on what day it is. Mondays are usually my easiest day because there's only one meeting. And tomorrow's Monday, so that'll be a little bit easier, but it's been a little bit harder when there are other nurse practitioners now, because opposed to it just being 2 of us, now sometimes they're up to 4 of us a day. So it's kind of counterproductive for me to look up patients, because we're technically not allowed to pick patients the night before. My boss doesn't want us like fighting over patients, and to be honest, I don't care who I take care of. I just want to know who I'm taking care of. That way I can feel prepared and know like what I'm going into. If I worked there every single day and was there like more often, so the other NPs work about 4 10-hour shifts a week, then I don't think it would matter, because I would like know our patient, who's been there and who hasn't, because we round all together on all of them. But because I'm only there once a week and I'm only there for about 10 to 12 hours, depending on how fast I can get my work done, it's just a little bit harder for me. So lately I haven't been picking up my patients the night before. I've been kind of just scrolling the list, but because there's only 2 of us tomorrow, I probably will look some people up. So the way we work, I work trauma and I work SICU. So sometimes I'm on trauma, and what that means is I see all the trauma patients with my team throughout the entire hospital. Now, when I'm SICU, I only see the surgical ICU patients. I prefer to be in the ICU just because I like the ICU. I am an ICU nurse. It is just my home where I feel more comfortable with. I get to know my nurses better because they're consistent, the same nurses on the same floor, and I don't know, it just is my passion, so I'd rather be in the ICU. When I go to the floors, it is a very different workflow, completely different. I have to work more closely with social work, physical therapists, case management, discharge planning, all of that. And that stuff I kind of don't really care for. I love the people, but I just don't care to do all that stuff. I'd rather be in the ICU taking care of the sick patients. But I also, there's a lot more patients to see. So if our census, like let's say we have anywhere from 25 to 45 patients, we usually split that up. So my patient population, I'm very lucky, I think, in aspects, because I see in the ICU, I think the most I've ever had on my own, like with myself, was 9 patients to myself. One day I showed up and had all 18 by myself, but I usually split the list with an intern, and because I work at a teaching facility, I always have an intern medical students, like fellows and attendings and all that to work with. So in the ICU, when there's like our census, I feel the lowest I've seen is 5. The highest I've seen is like 22. So we usually split it. And so my day will be as easy as how many interns I'm working with and how many nurse practitioners are there that day. But tomorrow we have 2 interns and me and 1 other nurse practitioner. And I looked at the list already. There's 41 patients. So I'm gonna have quite a big list of patients to take care of, but it is basically the most I think I've ever personally had on a trauma floor was 11. So usually it ranges about 6 to 8. So I will probably look up some people today. But the first thing I do is, because I also live so far away from my job, I prep the night before. So the reason why I'm in my gym talking about this right now is because I'm gonna get my clothes ready for work tomorrow. And I know I'm wearing the sweater. I don't actually work here. I used to work here and I love this hospital. And I just went to USC's trauma conference and I really enjoyed it. So I bought the sweater to support them. But yeah, I just want to make sure, because I wear the sweater a lot, that I don't work there, because all my opinions are mine. So I don't want this hospital to like get upset if someone watches my video and they're like, she said this. I'm like, no. I'm not affiliated with them. I love them. They're a great trauma center, but this isn't where I work. So anyway, I just did laundry. I'm gonna pick out my scrubs and stuff for tomorrow. I actually have some sitting up top. So I used to wear a scrub top, but now I wear a t-shirt from the hospital. I don't know, it's just more comfortable. So I'm gonna get my t-shirt, my scrubs, my undershirt. So I have tattoos and we don't technically have a policy, and I do work at a county facility, so I don't really think the patients care. But I don't know, I've always been taught to be professional, and I think now in the world we are kind of leaning towards tattoos. I mean, I have bright red color hair, so it's like, how professional can I be? But I think our like world is coming towards more of a shift where tattoos is like not really considered unprofessional, but I still choose to hide mine. So I just wear scrubs, a long sleeve undershirt, I like a turtleneck, and then my t-shirt for work. All right, it's hours later. I have printed some sheets that I use for school or work. Sorry. This is my brain that I use as a nurse, and I've just tailored it per patient. I wish I was techie and can just make this in like 4 little squares to save paper, but I'm not. So if any of you are, let me know so that I can make this more, environmentally friendly. But I basically just put my patient's name at the top, and then these is kind of like my guideline. It's more tailored to ICU stuff, but this is everything that my attending is going to want to know in rounds. I don't want to take time looking at the computer or my phone, so I just like to have everything written down here, and I've already made it so I can just kind of underline what's there. So basically a lot of my basic orders, like for PPI, Pepsid, Protonix is there, and I just underline like which one. Same for pain medication and stuff. And then I have like consults and dispo, because in the morning, one of my first meetings is to meet with like case management, social work, and see like what the patient needs if I'm on trauma. So now I'm just gonna go ahead. I printed about 8 sheets. I'll probably look up about 5 patients. So the reason why I switched up looking up patients is because since I live very far, I technically don't start work until 6. That's when our sign out is from night shift. But because I live so far, the other nurse practitioners get there earlier. So when there's 4 of us, it just does not make sense. They're already there when I get there. The earliest I get there is like 5:15, and when I get there, they're already there. So it doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not gonna get there any earlier because I already wake up at 3 a.m. to be there on time. So there's just no way that I'm doing that. So because of that, I usually do not look them up anymore, but because tomorrow there's only 2 of us, I am going to take my chances, look up some patients, and then when I get there, if my coworker has already chosen them, that's fine. I'll just give them up and look up other people. But yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do now. And like I said, it is the night before. It is currently around 6:30. I also have to meal prep and prep my lunch for work. I'm trying to be as healthy as possible. So I've decided to just make my lunch at home and only eat what I bring. So let's do that. All right. This is my lunch bag. It is huge, I know. But I like to take a variety of things. This was left in from last time. I like to take a variety of things because I'm trying to intermittent fast as much as I can. Unfortunately, because of the schedule at this particular job, I can't do 10 to 6. Like, I'm up at 3 a.m. There's no way I'm gonna wait till 10 to eat. So I think I'm gonna switch it to like 8 to 4 because I think 8 is a little bit more reasonable. Usually eat in my first meeting, which is we call morning report, and that's around 6:45. But yeah, so I have been cooking a lot lately and have been making like these very extravagant meals for meal prep, but I didn't do that today. So I'm just gonna eat a sandwich for tomorrow. And the sad part is I don't have all the fixings. So I don't have any lettuce. I have tomato, but it is gonna be just a plain simple sandwich. Okay, so I made my sandwich as nutritious as possible by using organic meat, cheeses, vegetables, and by vegetables I mean the tomato, and then pickles, organic mustard, mayonnaise. So that is my sad little sandwich for tomorrow. Alright, other things, energy drink just in case I need it. I'm trying to wean myself off of those, a protein bar, and then protein shake for tomorrow. All right, I already put a bottle of water in here. Then I'm gonna add some cottage cheese and snacks. So these are dark chocolate covered rice cakes, and these are like little almond balls with cherry and coconut, and I don't know, they taste amazing. I'm gonna add a banana and an apple, and I think that should be it. Worst case scenario, if I do get hungry, we do have like a Panera bread on site, so I will get a salad from there if anything. All right, so how I go about picking my patients has changed a little bit. I used to look at our group chat and see like what patients the other nurse practitioners or doctors like had the day before. I really don't care, like I said, who I take care of, what kind of case it is, like if it's easy or it's hard, I don't care. I honestly, the easiest way for me is to like look at the list and pick whatever 7 patients are right next to each other, mark them off, and go by there. I am expected to take most of our ICU downgrades and most of our what's called a tertiary, so basically a patient who needs to just have like another head to toe review, make sure we didn't miss anything. So because of that, I'll either pick a bunch of the new patients and then the first patients who are usually on PCU, because that's usually where our SICU downgrades go. So yeah, I don't really have a preference on when I'm on trauma, like what patients to pick. Same thing if I was in the surgical ICU, I just pick 5 rooms next to each other or 6 rooms next to each other and go from there. So that's kind of my method. I don't know if other people actually go and look. Sometimes I get lucky and I have to discharge all the people, and sometimes I get lucky and my patient just sits there like for days. So it's like, it just depends. I don't care what kind of assignment I do. I'm getting the paid the same regardless. So it's like just luck of the draw, I guess. All All right, it is 3:30 in the morning. I'm just trying to finish up. I usually wake up around 3 a.m. Today is a holiday, so I'm assuming traffic won't be bad, but you never know. So I'm just gonna try to put on light makeup real quick, put on my stuff, get everything ready, and head out the door. All right, it's 3:45 a.m. I'm actually glad I got out of the house early because I forgot to get gas. It takes me a lot of gas to get there, and so we're gonna head to the gas station now. All right, so I am printing my list now. Okay, now I'm walking to my first meeting. Okay, we rounded, and now I'm gonna write notes for hours. The aftermath of a long day. Half your eyebrows are gone. Okay, it's been like 3 weeks since I filmed this video, but I kind of just wanted to talk to you real quick about what a typical day really looks like in my life. I try to film as much as I can with being discreet as I can, because I don't want to get in trouble. But basically, I wake up at 3 a.m., I shower, get ready, hopefully don't have to go get gas, and then I go to work. And when I get there between 5:15 to 5:30. If I get to look up my patients the night before, what I'm looking up is whether or not like I need social work, physical therapy, any type of consult, what are their INOs, what happened overnight, their vital signs, what the labs are. Unfortunately, our labs sometimes come a little late, so that will just depend. Let me see if I could prop you here so I could just talk and not fiddle with this camera. And then I kind of just piece together things that I think the patient might need. Whenever I do what's called tertiary exam, I basically have to go interview the patient, make sure they don't have PTSD, and then screen them head to toe and make sure there's no other injuries that I may have missed. And I'm talking about a trauma typical day, not an ICU day, because an ICU day is very different. And so then after that, depending on what day it is, we have a lot of meetings. We have a lot of education and stuff like that. M&Ms, PI meetings, because we are a teaching institution. So this, depending on what day I work, will affect my day. So I typically like to work the days that we don't have any of that stuff, just so I can fully focus on my patients. But I actually really do enjoy all the lectures and the meetings and stuff. So we usually have a meeting depending on the day, like 6 or 6:40 or 6 or 6:45, and we basically just talk about all the patients that came in overnight, who got downgraded, and like who is going to the operating room. And then once we're done with that, if we don't have any M&M or PI meetings, then I go, and sometimes I'll have an extra hour. So depending on how early I get there, I'll pick my patients and look all the stuff that I already told you. And then if I get to before the meeting, I'll go see some patients. I don't always have time. We like to meet in the trauma bay around 8:30 with social work, case management, just to give them a heads up of like what each of our patients have. Our census can run anywhere from like 25 to the most I've ever seen was 65, which is crazy, people, and then we divide that amongst each other. So after that, we'll meet with the attending. You really have to know your attendings. I have about 11. Everyone is very different in how they like to do things. So then we just go to the top of the hospital and basically work our way down through the units, round on every single patient, see what every patient needs. We'll see them together with the doctor, the interns, the other nurse practitioners. And then once we're done and we formulate a plan for everybody, it's time to write notes. my least favorite part. I am very slow at doing the notes because I can't type for shit. I could text, but I can't type. I never took a typing class. It is very slow, and I like to read every single line of anything, especially if I'm copy pasting a note, is very frowned upon. But if I'm going to copy and paste a note, I want to make sure that I am reading every single one of the notes. Oh, and that's also what I do in the morning when I'm looking up these patients. I'm looking at the notes to see that are already established, to see kind of what's going on. Read the consult notes, nutrition notes, like social work notes. There's a lot of notes to read. So I basically like to read whoever like wrote the note the day before, because I want to see what is their thought process and like, why is the patient here? What does the patient need? And so then writing notes take me the longest. It probably takes me an hour per patient to prepare a note. And depending, like if they're getting discharged, like I just had a situation that was a little weird, but like if they're getting discharged, we only write the discharge note. However, if they don't leave and they leave the next day, then I have to write a progress note for that day, which kind of sucks sometimes because then you have to do double work. And that just happened to me. Like I discharged somebody, but the pickup time was until like after midnight or something. So I did both notes just because I didn't want to be delinquent or like get marked for like not writing a note for that day. I have to review my problem list and make sure it's up to date for like billing purposes. I personally, when I write my notes, I go through all the orders. I actually write my note if I'm copy pasting it and I'm just like editing out stuff. If I'm copy pasting, I am going to make sure I read every single line in that note because I need to make sure it's accurate, and I'll change whatever. I'm not gonna lie, like I am very particular of how I like my notes. I like it in systems, even though like that's usually stuff we do in the ICU, but I personally like my systems head to toe, what the problem is, what my thought process is, and then I go through my orders, because a lot of times, sometimes I see like in the note, it doesn't match the orders, and I want to be as clear as possible because I know what it's like to be a nurse. So as a nurse who reads the note and reads the orders, I sometimes find them conflicting, and then that's an extra call that I have to make to the doctor when I'm a bedside nurse. So as a nurse practitioner, I want to make sure I review the note and I review that the orders match the notes and everything. And then I have to order like labs for that day, meds for that, labs for the next day, medication for the next day, or like x-rays. I just make sure that I go through all that. I do have to read my scans, and depending how bad the trauma is, sometimes those are a lot of scans. My institution, even though I am not 100% good at reading like scans, I still take the time to look at my chest x-rays, look at my head CTs, look at my chest, abdomen, and pelvis CTs. I can read them, like look at the imaging and kind of like, I know the basic anatomy and know what I'm looking at, but sometimes the really nitty gritty things like atelectasis versus like consolidation, or like pulmonary edema and stuff like that, or like normal vasculature, those things I'm still working on, but I really enjoy looking at all my images because I want to learn myself. And it's helped me a lot as a nurse when I'm like looking at these images of like what may happen to my patient. So we look at all those images. I write all the notes. We have a handoff that we, update daily in order to tell the next person kind of what is pending for this patient. And then, sometimes like the reason why I had become a nurse practitioner was because I wanted to do procedures, and it just made me laugh because the part I hate the most is the note writing, but with every procedure comes a note. So I used to get so excited when I would have to do a procedure, but then I was like, oh, a note is coming with that. But yeah, and then as soon as I'm done with my work, because I live far, I kind of don't care to leave early. Like I can, I'm hourly, so like I can if my work is done, but I'm I don't want to say contracted to 10 hours, but like that's what's expected of me is to work the 10 hours. So it benefits me at like none to leave early because I live so far, traffic is bad at the time when I'd be off, which is around 4:30. So if I have time, as you saw in the video, I try to circle back and see my patients. I actually work with a doctor at my nursing job who comes back at least 2 to 3 times a day to see the patient, or like if he can't, he'll call me, and I really appreciate that and really like that. So that's the type of provider I want to be. So if I have time, I will circle back before I leave and I will see every single patient that I had on my list and make sure that everything's like tucked in and great. And then I give sign out. So I tell the night intern kind of if they are, well, the intern that's still there, if they have to follow up on anything or like what everything was done, like whether someone's getting discharged, and then I go home. My ICU day, I'll talk about it briefly just because for the sake of how long this video is. ICUs run completely different. I still go to the morning meeting and see, or I still get sent out at 6:30. I still go to the morning meeting to see like who came in overnight, who left, who's going to surgery or whatever. And then I go look at my patients. I kind of start, one thing, I always start like pen a note for each patient so that I don't forget anyone, and I take them slowly off my list once the note is done, just so I don't ever miss one. That's like one of my biggest fears because I don't live nearby. I'm not allowed to do notes at home. And then and so back to the ICU. In the ICU, we start rounds around 8:30. So those rounds vary. I think the fastest I've ever done rounds, depending on how many patients. So our patients census in the ICU can be anywhere from like the lowest I've seen is 5, the highest I've seen is around 22. And then depending on how many interns I work with, that's how many patients I end up getting. So the most I've ever had on my own was about 9, and that's on my own with an attending, but my note writing, like me looking at the stuff, 9. Except that one time that I said like I showed up and all 18 were mine. I didn't have to write 18 notes, but like I had to watch all 18 patients with myself with the attending. So then we round. So rounds, we literally, the reason why they take so much longer is because we literally do a head to toe talk about every single system. So depending on how good the provider is, whether they're an intern or a nurse practitioner, how well they know that patient, rounds can go very quick or rounds can take a very long time, especially if the attending feels like they're being a little sassy and they want to bring stuff up or they want to educate. I love the education, but it does take a very long time. But that's what I love about the ICU. I learn so much when I'm there, and I really appreciate that because I'm the type of learner that I'll remember things. That's why I watch all those crazy TV shows, like medical shows, because I'll remember. And so then we'll round, and then as soon as we're done rounding, I write the notes and basically send out to the intern and go home. So the workflow is very different. Like I don't meet with case management. I don't work with them as closely as I do with trauma. Like I talk to them, but just not like I do with trauma. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it was a little boring. I tried to make it as interesting as possible without actually filming and getting in trouble as much as I could in the hospital. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and joining me, and see you on the next one.